Hey everyone, this is Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, in conjunction with my YouTube channel Site Club, and I'm joined with my great friend Brice Watson from Esoteric Atlanta, and we have a new and spectacular guest with us today, Miki Klann. Miki's channel is Our Great Awakening, which is on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, and we've kind of been in connection for a little while, but now we're finally here, so we're excited to do this today. So. Miki, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Tom.
It's great to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. And you're in Arizona, and I've got some wonderful numbers. A recap from an episode I did with Simon Parks a few months ago, but just some things I wanted to kick off in terms of the numbers. And as negative 48 eloquently says, A is 1, Z is 26. So we're going to do some simple gematria, simple numerology. Well, simple numbers. I call it numerology, but it's gematria, simple gematria. Simple gematria is 148, which is Donald J. Trump. So it's appropriate. Anyway, so you're in Arizona. Arizona comes to 84. But the abbreviation of Arizona is AZ or AZ, depending if we're in America or in England. And A plus Z is 1 plus 26, which comes to 27, which also comes to JFK. So it seems appropriate that another powerful number kicks us off on the show. Scottsdale, where you're based, is 118, which is the storm. It's the awakening. It's the silver. It's the matrix. It's the blackout. It's a number of things. Some important birthdays for people. Some important names as well. And Phoenix comes to 91, which is POTUS. So for President Trump, it's also future. Mm-hmm. It's also liberty. And when you think of Statue of Liberty comes to, so you could say Statue of POTUS, but also Statue of Liberty comes to 198, which comes to the resurrection, which also comes to President Trump. So I thought there were some nice ones because you're based there in Arizona, and I love that place. I've got a great friend called Chad in Mesa, Arizona, right at the top of on the golf course estate, right at the top corner. Mm-hmm. And President Trump did a nice personal reference just the other day where he talked about Tom, and he said no one knows it like Tom does, and then he talked immediately about Chad straight after and thanked Chad. So I pointed that out to him, and now we're doing an episode with you in Arizona, which is literally just probably half an hour away from where he is. You can see Camelback right at the top. Do you know Les Sanders Golf Course?
Yep.
Of course you will, because you're into that's your yeah.
Oh yeah.
So right at the top there, you can see the Camelback Mountain and Red Mountain, and I saw my first and only tornado. Well, really more of a funnel spout in Arizona of all places, about a year or so before the world went mental.
Yeah,
so,
I've never even seen one of those here, so that's cool. That's quite an honor.
I told him I filmed it, and he said, "No, buddy, we don't get them here." And I said, "Dude, we do." And I filmed it and I sent it to him. He's like, "Oh, wow, yeah, okay." So,
well, to add to that, so A to Z, the beginning and the end, the alpha, the omega. So I am is, who was, who always will be, the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. So that's pretty exciting. And Junior has a big tattoo of a dagger. Have you seen the dagger with the Z at the bottom? Because he's the finisher.
He's the finisher, yeah?
Yep, and that dagger is in Orion's belt.
It is, and I love Orion. Yeah.
Earthplane, there are many, many locations where they have recreated Orion's belt. And Orion is literally the entire city of Rome was recreated with the Orion constellation, where all the major landmarks, especially the Vatican being the belt, and there were some nefarious things happening in where the dagger ends and where the phallic symbol of Orion begins.
Nice.
Yep. So there's some.
And you were saying as well about the Orion's belt. I've always been led to believe that the three pyramids, the three great ones, is kind of symbolic of the belt.
Absolutely.
And the words of the pyramids comes from 138, comes to Donald Trump, comes to revaluation, comes to turnstile, which is the time travel device in the film Tenet. And if you just do the pyramid, just singular, comes to 119, which comes to redemption, and Nikola Tesla. And you probably have looked at things about Tesla, you know, the device in the pyramid, etc. So But yeah, awesome.
Yes, and Tower 1, Tower 2, and Building 7 are also in Orion's belt formation.
Wow.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got some. Can I just jump in there? I've got.
Yeah.
So, Tower 1, Tower 2. Okay. So, you know how the two towers, usually people would refer to it just as a singular entity, i.e. World Trade Center. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's referred to as the Twin Towers or the two towers. So, but it was two of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, World Trade Center comes to 185, which comes to Donald John Trump. Mm-hmm. And so there were two of them. Okay. And we've done me and Brice and Janine did an episode about this a few months ago, but how there's at least two, there's Donald Trump. I like to kind of refer to them as Donald Trump or real Donald Trump and POTUS. And you can see the slight difference in how they physically look, but they're one and the same, similar to how if you've seen the Father, you've seen the Son, etc. on the God and Christ level. But this is something really interesting that I discovered. So you said Building 7. Mm-hmm. Guess who comes to Building 7? Building 7, when you do the gematria comes to 143. Actually comes to one of the characters for the numbers. For me, I've mentioned before, is my cousin Paul. He passed just literally a week before I met Ivanka Trump in New York. And I had my first experience in 2015 with the numbers. His date of birth was 118, which is the storm we just mentioned. And President Trump announced he was running for office literally a day just after I left New York and went to the Midwest back in 2015. But 143 comes to Paul Bushnell, but it comes to Melania Trump.
Oh my gosh.
Comes to Melania Trump. So they took out Donald John Trump, the two towers, POTUS and real Donald Trump. And there might be more, but at least two. And then Melania Trump. And everything's going to be restored. Everything's coming back.
Everything's going to be made known. She
Exactly.
plays a huge part, I believe.
Oh, she does. But could you look at that? Like, they went for both of them energetically.
Yeah. Building
7 and World Trade Center.
Well, it also carried Jassara Nassara papers or documentation.
Yep.
So they were the
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was already supposed to have been, but they made sure it wasn't.
Yeah, and you want to know another interesting thing about 9/11? If anyone goes and watches my video with Scott McKay of the story of the stars and how this is so biblical, that Revelation, the prophecy is playing out in the heavens above. But so Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. It really goes slow, and it does 12 retrogrades, right? And 12 years prior to this latest 12 years, when it enters into Gemini, was 9/11. So it's almost like they were trying to sabotage the movement of Jupiter, like 12 years ago. Does that make sense? Because the bad guys know all about the stars, right? The trillionaires follow the stars. So I thought that was really interesting.
Did you just say the trillionaires?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Trillionaires. So that's trillion. The word trillion comes to 109, which comes to Jassara plus Nassara. Jassara is 51, which is Batman. Nassara is 58, which is Robin. So Batman and Robin, and there's a lot of stuff on how President Trump is Batman, JFK Jr. is Robin, etc. Add them together comes to 109, which is trillion, also octillion. But it also comes to the word 17. If you spell out 17, it comes to 109. And it also comes to Diana Spencer, as in Princess Diana. And you just said about Jupiter. Now, if you remember this, you can see this on YouTube, but the Spider-Man film that was going to be released in 2001, they had a trailer before 9/11 took place. There was a famous trailer, and they changed it because of what happened. And it was Spider-Man, and he cast a huge web between the two towers. And Spider-Man comes to 99, which comes to Jupiter, and you've just talked about that.
Interesting.
So President Trump uses all the things in terms of mythology, popular culture, superheroes, everything. And The Dark Knight Rises was featured. Trump Tower was one of the sets. It was Wayne Tower in The Dark Knight Rises, which was the third Batman film. But Jupiter comes to 99, Spider-Man. It also comes to Patriot as well. And it comes to Rapture and Brice mentioned Rapture just off of camera just before we started.
And that's also most.
And the Rapture comes to 132, which is Princess Diana.
Interesting, but 99 is also most high, right? Is that
99? Okay.
And they wanted her to be most high, so I'm pretty sure Evergreen is also 99.
It is, you're right, it is.
So,
Judgment is 99, Evergreen's 99, Ascension is 99, Patriot, my buddy Ron Giles is 99, not in age, but, and then, yeah, Rapture is 99, yeah.
So when Jupiter crosses the Alpha and the Omega, just past Leo and the Virgo, when she's crowned with 12 stars above her head, the sign of the Son of Man, which occurred September 23rd, 2017, which comes to 24. That number comes to 20. You add up every number, so September 9232017, it comes to 24. Where there are 24 elders, there are 24 stars that make up the sign, right? So the Virgo and the Leo, and that is the crown above her head, right? Well, just after Jupiter crossed over the Alpha and the Omega, on 9/11, they took out Evergreen, I believe. So it's just fascinating that you talk about most high, you talk about 99, you talk about Twin Towers, you talk about tower building number 7. It's all tied together. And the ultimate flip is when Jupiter crosses the Alpha and the Omega, because that's when the alliance, I believe, really went into the offensive. And again, everyone's got to do their own research. This is just what I believe. But this is based on a lot of information.
That's really good. That's really good, Miki. It's really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Miki, can you, for my audience, and I'm going to tell you guys, I know from when I research, especially European churches, more specifically Notre Dame, are built on top of old Jupiter temples.
Ooh.
All right, guys? So this is super important. And Miki, can you explain to my audience and Tom's audience as well? And I know we've talked about this a lot on my channel with the missing books of the Bible, and I've explained this, but you also understand that astrology is all over the Bible, correct? And all of these prophets that we venerate as in the Christian faith were astrologists.
Yes,
all of them.
Called Magi, the M-A-G-I. They were the wise men. So the wise men always looked at the heavens above. Now, this would have been difficult back in the time without Stellarium and the tools that I use, right? Because you'd have to plot it all day by day, night by night, even on cloudy nights.
Right.
So like Genesis 1:14 says, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. The heavens declare the glory of God. That's Psalm 19. It's all over the Bible. Yep.
The Book of Jubilees, it tells us to mark our dates and festivals by the timing of the moon. Yes. That's where we get the word month from, the moon. You know, so this is, and I know a lot of Christians out there are super open to this, but some are having a really hard time understanding that what we've been told about astrology from the church is nothing but propaganda.
Yes.
To try to dumb us down so that we can't use this beautiful tool that God has given us, as above, so below. What's playing out in the heavens is going to be forecasted on the earth, and we can see that by reading the stars.
The zodiac is referred to as the Mazzaroth in the Bible.
Will you spell that for me, Miki?
Mazzaroth. It's Mazzaroth, and that's in Job 38:32. But here's one more for you guys, just to get your audience to realize we're supposed to be looking up. It says, lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that briteth out their host by number. That's Isaiah 40:26. So there's a lot of references to the Bible. All the apostles knew the stars. Jesus knew the stars, and that's what gives us our timeline. Especially in the book of Revelation. So again, the sign of the Son of Man is written about and spoken about in Luke and in Matthew, but it happens in the heavens above only once in 7,000 years. It happens on September 23rd, 2017. So that's a date to know and remember. And Trump tweets about it. He tweets about it. He tweets before. He tweets during. Because he knows the stars. He knows all about it.
They talk about 88 constellations, 88 is Trump. And just a few minutes ago, when you were both talking about heaven, so heaven is 55, which comes to Melania. So we spoke about the Great Lady just a few moments before that. If you do heavens, the plural of heaven, heavens comes to 74, which comes to Jesus, comes to Messiah, comes to Muhammad, comes to tarot, comes to the action of point. President Trump is the king appointing. Go into movie, folklore, it comes to DeLorean, the time travel device. Marty actually is 77, which is Christ. You've got Jesus Christ, Marty, plus the DeLorean is 151. That comes to Drain the Swamp, comes to the Josiah Reset, comes to Lady Diana Spencer as well, 151, Jesus Christ. But then you mentioned the moon as well. So moon is 57. 57 comes to Tesla, comes to birth. And if you add both those together, actually I should say also London, where I am, 74. London is 74. And President Trump was just age 74 just until a few weeks ago. During this, coincidentally enough, during the time of 2020 and 2021, the great thing of all time. And then Moon 57 is also England, which is where I am. So London, England. But if you add those both together, it comes to 131, which comes to John F. Kennedy, comes to Steve Bannon, comes to as well, if you watch the end of Back to the Future 3, the Trump train, where they're going from previous time back into the future, the number of that train is 131. So again, it's really potent and important. But James Caviezel, he's known by Jim, but James Caviezel played Jesus Christ in Passion of the Christ. He spoke up recently. Gary Gensler, the whole, the SEC court case thing, he's 131 as well. Michael Pompeo, not Mike Pompeo, but Michael Pompeo is 131. So it's a really important number, and it comes to some other values as well. Yeah. So yeah.
So good. Well,
wait, Miki, will you explain to my audience Revelation? Oh, sorry. I think are we?
You're still with us.
Okay.
We're
still here. There's a little bit of jet lag, a little bit of lag, but I think we're all right.
I've got a raging storm outside, so if y'all hear the thunder, I apologize. But will you explain? I have watched you briefly break down Revelation on other channels before, and I absolutely 100%, as I was telling you off camera, agree with everything that you have found. And in my research with the missing books of the Bible, which also cover what's to come in Revelation, more specifically the War Scroll, which was in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is supposed to be the kicker off of Revelation. If we had that book in our Bible, Revelation would not have been so scary, because the War Scroll kind of explains that this is a good news book. Right. The book of Revelation is actually good news. It's not scary for us. It's not terrifying for us. This is actually the Great Awakening. It's to reveal, it's to lift the veil. And you have you explain everything astrologically, especially with Jupiter. And I think, were you the one that showed that Beyonce did something to try to mimic?
Yes.
What was happening in this? Because we know that the bad guys try to pervert everything and invert it and take it away.
Yep.
But we know, again, at the end of the book, they don't succeed. So could you explain that to my audience?
Yes, this is absolutely the end times for them. Let's be very clear. This is a revolution for us. This is a great awakening for us. We've experienced it. It's game over. Mm-hmm. If anyone even questions that, they need to go back and reread the book of Revelation with 20/20 vision. Mm-hmm. Because it's a different story, and future proves past. And a lot of the writing has double meaning. And because they had to write in code. If time travel is possible, it had to be written in code, or else the dark ones, would know the plan.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if you go back and read it, now that you know about our favorite letter, and now that you know that multiple meanings exist, and that future proves past, and that news unlocks the map, that's when you really start to get a clearer understanding. And so I do recommend everyone go read, especially go read chapter 18, because that's all about our favorite Suez Canal, the second parting of the Red Sea, just during Passover, is just so biblical. Like, they're putting a show on for us, guys. Like, this is a time to be alive. It's a glorious time to be alive. And I just want to make sure I plug Melissa Redpill the World. She's on freedomforce.live, And she's got over 500 videos on anybody who wants to do a deep dive on all the events that have taken place over the last 7 years. But where I start my story, and I'll link Scott McKay's video below as well, because I really kind of go through the timeline with him of how things occurred in the heavens and on the earth plane. Because what I really took, I took Melissa's work and I overlaid it with Charlie Freak's work. And that led to even more knowledge. You know, and I realized, guys, this has been a movie. We're watching a full-on movie. And when you go and you decode the Bible along with, you know, the headlines, for example, did you ever wonder about Crossfire Hurricane? Why was it called Crossfire Hurricane? Did you ever wonder? That whole thing was a show because it says in the Bible it would happen. You know what I mean? They've been in control of this group for quite some time. Anyway, so I'll just tell really quick a high level of hope as far as when you go back and read the story of Revelation. So chapter 12 is when the great wonder appears in the heavens above, where the woman or the virgin is clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet and a crown of 12 stars above her head. And then she's crying out in pain because she's giving birth, right? So in the heavens, that's when we see the sign of the Son of Man. That's the starting point of the midpoint of the tribulation. So we know tribulation is supposed to last 7 years. So we start at that midpoint, sign of the Son of Man, and we go back 3 years, and that's when we see a blood moon happening over the Virgo. So the blood moon happens right at her groin, which would imply she's lost her virginity. All right, so that happens 3.5 years prior. So if people go back and you watch my video with Scott McKay, I had the visuals, you can see all the graphics. It really, I'm a visual learner. So, and then if you fast forward from the sign of the Son of Man up ahead 3.5 years, the 1,260 days, as it says that God would protect the virgin, that's when we see essentially when Trump went to Switzerland and signed the final papers on Jassar and Sarah. So there's a lot of things that are happening that it's going to be the best story ever told. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how to tell the story. There's so many dimensions to it sometimes, but so that's kind of a summary. But then if you go back and actually I'll tell you this, the book of Revelation is not written in sequence. Okay. It does bounce around similar to drops. It bounces around, future proves past and so on. So when people read it, you're not going to read it like it's a story. Again, it had to fool them. You know? Right. And so, but chapter 18 will make you happy because it's all about, you know, woe to the, you know, to the shipmen and stuff, because they will be losing money by the hour and no one will be buying and selling slaves anymore. So it's all about. And how literal is that? How literal? Now we know that that is literal. Literal. You know, 10 years ago, I thought, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. But now we know that. It talks about the maddening wine of her adulteries. Yeah. In the book of Jubilee, they basically flat out say, don't drink blood over and over and over again. Yep. They talk about how our blood has our DNA. It's sacred because it has our DNA coding. Yeah. It also talks about how they will learn how to genetically modify things. Yep. And in book of Jubilee also, because Jubilee is how they kept time with the 49 years and then the Jubilee, which we obviously are coming into a Jubilee because all the debt will be forgiven. But they say that the Canaanites, we'll call them the bad guys, are going to dilute our time. We're not going to have any clue what the date actually is. And that's what you're saying. Like, if we can follow the stars, we have a clear understanding of what the time is. It's not 2021. No. And even the Jewish calendar is off, and that's intentional. And so people have often said, well, I thought that happens in 6,000 years. Like, well, we don't really know what the date is because they intentionally confused us with what our timeline really is. Yeah. So it's all in the Bible, guys. Yeah, in the Bible it says that those guys would use time as a weapon and nature. Yeah, and that they would be caught in a trap. Can you guys just for a second think of all the traps that the Alliance has set over the last 7 years? I mean, we're talking the border, we're talking the competition. I just say that. Exactly. We're talking about this, right? We're talking about so many traps have been laid that, you know, they thought they were in control all the way up to the very end. I will say back in 2015, when Mr. T started campaigning, he spoke about this idea of, and I'll watch how I say this for YouTube, but
our news cycle being more like a telenovela, the fake, which is propaganda. He just rebranded it as propaganda. And I remember thinking, what's he talking about? Like, what does he mean? Like, surely they would get in trouble. And now look at how many people in the world know that the TV lies. Yeah. Like, I just know it. They know that these anchors are not journalists. They're basically PR people. And 5-6 years ago, most people didn't get that this was actually happening, and he was telling us straight up. Yeah. And so this great awakening has happened. And I know in the missing books of the Bible, as well as other sacred texts, there's this idea about reincarnation, that we live multiple lives. And Jesus does speak about this. Actually, in the book of Luke, there's still a place in the book of Luke where he does talk about Isaac coming back again as John the Baptist. Anyway, which we know what that is. But in a lot of the missing texts, he talks about this as well, that we keep coming back and living these lives in this greater battle, that this one life we live is not just us, like we are bigger than this. And a lot of these other cultures have talked about how we are the lucky ones to be here right now, that we were chosen to come down at this time for this purpose. And I want to say that to everybody watching, even if you don't have a channel out there, even if you're just putting things out on Facebook or just holding the line within your spirit, you are doing your job, because that vibrational awareness is why you were one of the lucky ones. People say that souls were like in line trying to be on earth at this time, and we were the ones that were put here.
I'm so glad you brought that up. We are the army of the 144,000, and it is the song. It is the song that the harp is playing that we understand, and we're lucky. And so I know it's hard, and we all have an experience through this great awakening, but we're so lucky to be here. And it does offer eternal life in Revelation when it talks about the army of the 144,000. And so I do believe eternal life is what we're getting, because if you know where you reincarnate,
yeah,
you're just in a vessel. And even Trump talks a lot about vessels. He talks about Biden just being a vessel, or so on, But I do think there's a lot coming. I think this is the rise of the Phoenix, the age of the Aquarius, the mixing of the waters, the new technologies, but even more so, it is the end of that eternal loop that we've been in, of not knowing exactly where we go when we die. Do you know what I mean? We can say heaven. There's another thing to know where your soul goes. And I believe, and I can show you in the stars, this is fascinating, you guys. So in the stars, just near the Orion, which again, I remember we just talked about how they've been using or harnessing the power of Orion and the pyramids and so on. But just down along usually on the earth plane, there's a river. And in the skies, in the heavens, there is a constellation called Eridanus, which I call the river of lost souls. Okay, because it's our loop. And at the bottom of Eridanus is the clock, the Miki clock, the 10 and 2. It's called the hologorium. Hologorium sounds an awful lot like hologram, but this is their end times, because all the times that they've been controlling our reincarnation, this is their end times. So you have no idea how powerful this clock is. And the clock is pointing, if you look at the hologorium in the sky, the clock is pointing at the 10 position is pointing at the Aquarius. So it's the mixing of the waters, the age of Aquarius. And the other is pointing at the judgment. So some are going to go on to eternal life, others are going to be judged. Age of Aquarius is 141, dream come true 141, a love triangle 141, a theater of war 141, always believe 141, city of angels 141, goddess Sophia 141, and heavenly realm 141. So that's the age of Aquarius. That's where we're heading. People can be excited about that.
And Looking Glass comes to 141, Reincarnation comes to 41, and Tom Bushnell comes to 41. So I like that one.
I like that one for you too.
I do. And there's some other numbers between the two of you brought up in the last few minutes. So you were talking about Revelation. Revelation is 121, which is also second coming. And this is the second coming. It's the millennium. It's the age of Aquarius. It's the 1,000 years of peace. Also 121 is Golden Jubilee. So we're heading into that. And also Gotham City. So Batman and Robin have mentioned them before in terms of or the narrative with President Trump and JFK Jr. Also, as well, you talked about Crossfire Hurricane. So just did the numbers on that. Cross is 74, which is Jesus. We spoke about that earlier. Fire is 38, which is gold. Add those together, comes to 112, which comes to victory. Hurricane, interesting enough, comes to 97, which comes to Kennedy's, comes to crypto, comes to the day Thursday, also comes to the word popcorn. So enjoy the enjoy your popcorn. And you add those together, it comes to 209. There's 209 countries in the world, I believe. And I just did the numbers again on Orion. So I've done them before, but it was a good refresher. So Orion comes to 71, comes to the word Moses, comes to Suez, as in the Suez Canal. You mentioned that just a few moments ago. Comes to Lady Diana, comes to Psych, which is the first word in my channel, Psych Club. Club is 38, which is gold. Add them together is 109. Diana Spencer, Trillion, etc. 17. And there was another one you said. Oh, yes. So Book of Revelation. We were talking about Book of Revelation. Book of Revelation comes to 185, which comes to Donald John Trump. Comes to World Trade Center. Comes to Superstition, as in Superstition Mountains, if I remember rightly from my Simon Parks episode. 185 also comes to the Book of Mormon. I've spoken about that before. Mormon comes to 88, which is Trump. Scotland comes to 88. And there was another one I did. Oh, how do you spell Mazaroth? M-A-Z?
M-A-Z-Z. It's got two Z's in it. M-A-Z-Z-A-R-O-T-H.
Two
Z's. Okay, let me do that.
And then just to add to that, where you're at, which was really amazing, Aquarius 107. Where have we heard that word? Not his real name. Get rid of the 0 and you've got our favorite number. But it also stands for apostles. So Aquarius is apostles. The cross, the Jesus. All of you,
yes.
You did it. War Horse, Holy Bull, Superman 107.
Yeah.
Currency 107. So think of the current of Eridanus and the lost souls and it's more than just money, Treasure 107, monetize 107, and then quantum 107.
So apostles and Aquarius have the same, they're both 107.
Yep.
Tom, you and I are we're both Aquarius.
Yes.
We talked about the apostle thing before. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's your birth sign, Miki?
Mine's a Libra.
Libra. Oh yeah, well you're an air like us. My best friend's Libra, so we all are the air signs. So yeah.
And apostle is 88, which is Trump. Apostle is doctrine, 88. Purple, 88. Scotland. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. Mormon, I said before, is 88. But yeah, apostles, 107. And 107, another one is military. And so when we were in the year of 2020, because the word 20 is also 107. So when we were in 2020, it was Trump's Trump, or military Trump's, or Trump's military. And if you look at talking of clocks, so if you look at the 24-hour clock, if I said to you, okay, let's meet at 2000 hours in the evening, that would be 8 p.m. So 2020 is also 8888 is Trump, 88. And there's 88 constellations. There's probably more, but there's 88 that they talk about, But it's just a coincidence, everyone.
It's just
a coincidence. It's nothing to pay attention to.
Nothing to pay attention to.
I know, yeah. It's just nothing.
Just nothing. It's just one of those things,
Well, I want to assure people, because I know on my channel too, we've talked a lot about the ABUSE that you see in like churches. And one thing that has really excited me during this Great Awakening is, at least my experience growing up in like an evangelical church, there's a lot of, they tend to push a lot of insecurity on you when it comes to your relationship with God. And that's a tactic that CULTs use. Sorry guys, we're on YouTube, we have to watch what we say. But what this Great Awakening has taught me, and I heard Melissa Redpill say this, like even the God-loving people in India are God-loving people. Like there is such a definite line between the bad guys and the God-loving people. And that is something that I hope that so many people can kind of lift that weight off of their shoulders and understand that you are loved. You are part of this wonderful story, and you are created specifically by God for this purpose. Your soul is eternal, and you don't have to feel insecure anymore about your placement, about the mind scrambling that's been happening in a lot of these institutions that are puppeted by the bad guys, because as we know, their time's up. Yeah. GameStop, right? We know GameStop was also the financial stuff with the video games, but it's also GameStop for them. Like GameStop, it's over, you know, and there's such a freedom in that. And that's the our God, our source is the source of freedom, right? And being, it's exciting. This is super exciting. It's so exciting.
And it's all a battle for our consciousness. Our psyche, our awareness, you know, and I was doing a lot of research on Taurus. So you've got the Taurus, which is our energy field, also known as our energy, because multiple meanings exist. The Taurus in the heavens above is the bull. The bull is, the heart of the bull is Pleiades. It's a nebulae.
Yeah.
The eye of the
Seven sisters.
Yep. The seven sisters. And those are also the seven sisters, and the Pleiades is on the same formation as the seven churches of Revelation on the earth plane in Turkey. So if you look at the bull, one of the stars of the bull's eye is called Aldebaran. What does that sound like? Baron.
Aldebaran.
Aldebaran.
Yeah.
Aldebaran. Yeah. And so there's so many references to the psyche, right? And the Orion. So Orion on the earth plane is Rome. Well, what did they do in Rome for entertainment? They did bullfights.
Bullfights.
Because
gladiators, yeah.
Because if you can outsmart the bull with a red cape, you can kill it. That's their mentality. If you can outsmart them with false news and fake media and false prophets, that was the mentality, right? So the bull, it represents our awareness, our Taurus, our what we understand as who we are eternally, right? But there's so many more references. So bullion, Bullion, is bull lion, because we're talking about in the Revelation, it talks about how the lion, or the tribe of Judah, right? The Leo from the tribe of Judah is the root of David, right? So they're here because they're worthy of opening the seven seals. Well, bullion is, precious metals. So it's the bull and the lion together. It's the alliance between the bull and the lion. Isn't that fascinating? So yeah.
If you spell the word bullion, Bullion, like bull lion, like you just said brilliantly, bullion comes to 85, which comes to the word silver. So there you go, precious metals. And if you just do the word bull comes to 47. Silver is atomic number 47. But the word the value for 47 also comes to John, which is a flip on Jesus. So there's that scripture, I can't remember where it is, I think it's in Isaiah, where it talks about you looking into the silver and the kind of refiners, the purifying, and you see your reflection back at you. So I'm paraphrasing it very loosely, but there's a scripture that describes that. So it talks about how you'll see Jesus, but you're looking kind of at yourself, and it's to do with the silver. So it's that reflection mirror, 47, 74. And if you add those together, if I remember rightly, 47 plus 74, let me just check. But yeah, it does. It comes to 121, which is Revelation, which is Golden Jubilee. So it's all, it's all there.
We just also note that Judah, of the 12 tribes of Israel of Jacob, was the line of Jesus, and also is the line of Donald Trump.
Yeah. We're talking of lions. Guess what the word lion comes to? Lion comes to the value of 50. 50 comes to America, comes to Utah, comes to Donald, comes to Paul, my cousin, comes to Ivy, my grandma, but that's when I get orbs in my videos. But yeah, lion comes to 50, which is Donald. So just what you said, Brice,
The Lion of Judah.
Yeah, the Lion of Judah. Yeah, it's just a coincidence, though.
And well, to add to the coincidence, I had another really good one. So 2021, they say to get rid of the 0, right? So that comes to 2, 2, 1, but think mirror, 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2 is a second coming. America First, 1, 2, 2. Sun signs, 1, 2, 2. The Torah code, which is what we're talking about, 1, 2, 2. King of Kings, 1, 2, 2. It's Jesus, 1, 2, 2. JFK Jr. lives, 1, 2, 2. Events begin, 1, 2, 2. So when you talk about the reflection, talk about the mirror of 2021. That's kind of exciting.
That's really good. And 122 comes to millennium, which is the 1,000 years of peace, and also it comes to Kansas City. And there's a few things around that. It's a twin city, Missouri, Kansas, and also if you go back to the mirror, so 221. 221 comes to the Greatest Showman, and President Trump is the Greatest Showman, and he's just getting ready to bring the house down. So or bring it back up, whichever way you want to look at it.
I did an episode with Tamara a few weeks ago, and she's a spiritualist down in Australia, and she kept saying that she kept seeing at the end of this a businessman in a navy blue suit with a crown on, and she said she kept getting that, and all of a sudden she goes, "Oh my God, King of Kings." Trump, King of Kings.
Yeah.
And that's biblical.
And that's 122.
Yep. And I want to remind everybody that, again, when we talk about things happening in the heavens, we're talking about the astrology. And I've talked about Operation Bluebeam on my channel before. And one thing I learned from a dearly departed person up in Canada who died in the 90s when he exposed this is that the image that we have of Jesus in our churches is not the real Jesus. It's Cesare Borgia, who was the son of one of the popes, who had a relationship with Leonardo da Vinci. Well, they had this plan, and we talked about this with Juan, Tom, about how they were going to get this image in our heads of what Jesus looked like, and then they were going to put a hologram in the sky to make it seem like that was the second coming. And so what we're seeing, what we're having to unscramble now is these preconceived notions that have been like pushed into our head over mind control and mind control tactics versus the actual astrology, which is the real heavens that they're talking about. Not projecting a hologram in the sky, but the real heavens. A projection is just a projection. This is the real heavens. And so when we start to talk about actual people on the earth that match biblically, in my opinion, that's the accurate story. Versus,
I have some thoughts on that. I've been asking the universe for clarity on that for a while. So first of all, just to clarify for everybody, astrology is actually the study of our own personal signs, birth signs, and so on. But astronomy, is actually the heavens above. So that's the study of the stars and how they affect Earth events or events happening on the Earth plane. But a lot of people have asked me, so does Jesus just come in the clouds? What does the Bible say, right? And so is there going to be a second coming, right? And so I personally believe, this is just my thought, again, it's just after research. One, he comes in the heavens, because it does say he comes in the clouds, as in Jupiter giving, the Virgin, the Virgo giving birth to the new child in the stars. But I also think he comes as the morning star, which is Jupiter in the Bible. And he also comes, I think, potentially as the bloodline. So I believe that Mary Magdalene did have children, and that there is a Jesus bloodline, and that I don't know about reincarnation at this time, but I think the second coming may be the unveiling of the bloodline, and that could be really, really fascinating. I hope people are open to that, when it happens.
According to the missing books of the Bible, Jesus had children with 2 women. He had a wife before that he first married, and she died 7 years into their marriage, and Mary Magdalene was his second wife, and he had children with both. So that's according to the missing gospels, guys. Now we know why Constantine, there's supposed to be 777 books in our Bible, and we only have about 60.
777.
They got rid of, they axed most of the story from us. So yeah. And as somebody asked me once, so the Vatican has not released these missing books of the Bible, guys. They haven't all of a sudden gotten nice and decided to enlighten us all. These were books back in the 4th century when these particular books were outlawed by punishment of death. All right. Because that's so Christian, right? To go kill people for having these books. A lot of the people living in Egypt at that time and the Middle East hid these books in tombs, and they were hidden until like the late 19th century, early 20th century, when they were excavated by archaeologists. So we only have about 45 of them. The rest of them are still in the Vatican Library. So that's where we have these books that we know of, is because patriots back in the 4th century hid these books in hopes that we would find them one day, and we have found them. I didn't think they probably didn't think it would take as long as it did, but we eventually found them. So we have to thank them in our mind for leaving that information for us to find, because I think you're right. I think there will be an unveiling of bloodlines, and I've talked about that a lot on my channel. I think we all have special bloodlines. I think there's information in all of our blood that they don't want us to know. That's why we all have different blood.
Yeah.
You know
what the Christ bloodline comes up to. So Christ bloodline. So Christ is 77, which is power, which is hurts, it's other things. But Christ and bloodline is 88, which is Trump again, which is apostle, which is Scotland, which is Mormon, which is purple, which is a few things. Anyway, Christ bloodline comes to 165. President Trump's birthday is June 14th, which is the 165th day of the year. So Christ bloodline is right there. If you do the Christ bloodline, so you add there is 33, which is Don, as in Donald. 33 is also magic. It's also gate. If you add those together, it comes to 198, which comes to the resurrection, because resurrection also comes to 165. So the resurrection comes to 198, which also comes to President Trump, which comes to Statue of Liberty. And with Steve Bannon, one of the 131s, did that video last year, right out in front of the Statue of Liberty, which is 198, President Trump, and just to the side is World Trade Center, which is 185. Interesting enough, it's called One World Trade Center. One is 34, which is DJT. And so you have all of it there. And I've just done the numbers on astrology. So astrology comes to 132, which is 14th. So President Trump is born on the 14th. The word quadrillion, Negative 48 talked about quadrillion in your episode with him just a week or so ago, Miki. Also, Princess Diana comes to sorry, am I saying 138? I should be saying 132. Astrology comes to 132, which is 14th, quadrillion, and Princess Diana. If you do astronomy comes to 140, which comes to the Trumps, comes to Tom numbers, comes to some other things. Also, as well, something you mentioned earlier about Jesus from a certain place, and I think you said New York, but if you do New York Jesus, it comes to 185, which comes to Donald John Trump as well. So yeah, I think for sure, like you're saying about the bloodline of Christ, I think it's exactly that. Yeah.
I think we're going to find out an awful lot about that 9/11 date.
Yeah. Oh, it's Westminster as well. So Christ bloodline is Westminster, 165. Westminster is in London. London is 74, which is Jesus. England is 57, which is Mary, which is Tesla. Scotland is 88, sits on the top, which is Trump. So it's all there.
Fascinating.
It's so
New York, the Big Apple, right? So the Big Apple being the red apple, because they took a big bite out of the proverbial red apple, which of course sent us into endless wars on terror. So that was quite a blow, right? And it was a biblical reference. Yeah, I don't think people realize that these guys operate in biblical references.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 111 is New York, which is the word perfection. Londinium, the old city of London, ancient London, is 111. Parthenon is 111 out in Athens. I think amethyst, if I remember correctly, is 111 as well. But yeah, it's perfection. The word perfection is 111, and that's New York, and that's the home of the great man. So, and he's gonna flip New York just like everything else. That will become the pristine, powerful city that it always has been. Say again, Brice.
He already flipped New York once before. He and Giuliani.
Exactly. And be like, all right, if we flipped it once before, we'll do it again. We'll do it a third. However many times he has to do it, we'll do it. Yeah.
That's why. Yeah, it's amazing, because regardless of who people think Trump is, we know that God's hand is on him.
Exactly.
No way any mere mortal without the protection of God would have been able to survive this long.
Well, talking of bloodlines and Christ's bloodline, look at his genealogy. Just from, what's the name of Donald Trump's father? It's Frederick Christ Trump.
Mm-hmm.
His grandmother, her last name was Christ, and his great grandfather was Philippe Christ. So it's like when he made the joke about the Abraham Accords. He said, "Oh, I wanted to call it the Donald J. Trump Accords, but the press wouldn't like it, so it's a bit too obvious. So I'll call it the Abraham Accords." It'd be a bit too obvious to call him Donald Christ Trump, going into this millennial period. But it's Donald John Trump, and John is the mirror of Jesus, etc. So, and you just have to dig a little bit, and you see, oh, what's his father's name? What's his grandmother's name? What's his great grandfather's name? It's a line of Christ, and we just done the numbers. Christ's bloodline comes to resurrection, comes to 165, the resurrection. The Christ bloodline comes to 198, which is Donald Trump. Sorry, President Trump, I should say. It's there. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? It just keeps going more and more.
And it's all in the Bible too, because each of the trumpets represent an awakening or a wake up.
Exactly.
You spoke about. I thought this was interesting, and I think it was Nicholas. You talked about the 7. Was it the WikiLeaks being the seals that were?
Well, on the cover of that, it said that it was closing 7 key figures of the DNC. Mm-hmm. So why would they say 7? We know there were more figures being exposed, but I thought it was beautiful that it said 7 key figures, and in the heavens above, it is literally Jupiter comes down. He does a retrograde, right? So station 1, he lifts the foot of the back of Leo. Station 2, he slams it down over the cup of wrath, which is just below the Leo. So you got Leo here, cup of wrath here, which takes out the Hydra. And right as it slams down on the earth plane is when we get the WikiLeaks drops.
And a scroll, back in the time where John was writing this down, he wouldn't have known what a computer is, what email is. What did they have? They had scrolls.
Yeah.
Our emails are our scrolls.
Yes. And password has the word sword in it. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a modern day sword, the password. And that also is mentioned in Isaiah about Leviathan, the coiling serpent, which is the Hydra. Mm-hmm. And God's wrath is led by the sword. So I just think there's so many multiple meanings.
Wasn't the Hydra having 7 heads as well? Was it the 7 heads and the 7 beasts and chopped them off? So
I don't know. I don't know that story. I think that's Hercules. No, I don't know.
Not sure. Something about 7 heads and 7 beasts. And
I'll have to look that one up and learn more. There's so much Greek mythology and so much Roman mythology that's all playing out, and they're using comms left and right on all of these stories. So I feel like there's even more to unravel, you guys. There's so many more stories to unravel as we go, but it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Sorry, go on, Brice.
No, I was just saying it's exciting. Go ahead.
So when you said unravel more, so trumpet comes to 113, which comes to universe. Also, if you add Melania plus Ivanka, 55 plus 58 comes to 113. And the election was on 11-3, 113. But if you make it a plural and you call it trumpets, it comes to 132, which is that number I just mentioned earlier about astrology. Astrology is 132. Princess Diana is 132. 14th is 132. Quadrillion, the number that negative 48 referred to is 132. But if you do 7, so 7 is 65. 7 is also Florida. It's also Maggia. But you add those together, comes to 197. 197 comes to Diana Spencer Trump as well. And there's been stuff out there saying that perhaps that could be the case. So we'll wait and see on that. But 7 trumpets, 7 trumpets, 197. And trumpets is Princess Diana, 132. So, and if you do the trumpet, so the trumpet comes to 146, which comes to Ivanka Trump, comes to New Jerusalem, Comes to Leonardo da Vinci. Interesting enough, you mentioned him just a few moments ago. And if you do the New Jerusalem, takes you to 179, which comes to there's ties in. Well, if you do the mothership, I'm going ahead of myself now. The mothership is 164, plus the New Jerusalem 179 takes you to 343, which is President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And it was the same when you had Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. If you added all those together, it came to 343, which was on the 21st of December 2020. So anyway, so it's just how my mind goes sometimes. Yeah.
It's so good. It's the best story ever told, you guys. Like, I'm so overwhelmed and enamored by it. I just don't know which movie theater to pull into half the time.
I know. Get your popcorn out. Get your Kennedys out. 97. Get your crypto out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. Talk about cryptocurrency. So the word currency, as you've said, is 107, which is Trump's. Crypto is 97, so which is Kennedy's. So cryptocurrency comes to Trump's. Well, it comes to Kennedy's Trump's, which is 204. So it just keeps going and going. Yeah.
And I want to tell eventually the story of, so there's two stories three that I'm seeing playing out in the heavens. Remember I told you about the midpoint is the sign of the Son of Man. And then we go back into 3.5 years prior. That's when Jupiter's entering into Gemini. So Gemini in the ancient manuscripts is a bride and bridegroom, possibly even, Adam and Eve. But there's a whole other story playing out, and that is a Trojan War. So in the Trojan War, in the mythology of it, you've actually got Castor, which is one of the characters in Gemini, and Pollux. So you got Castor and Pollux coming up with a plan for the Trojan horse. Well, here we are all the way over in Aquarius. Think of this Trojan horse that they're about to open, you guys. So Aquarius 107, War Horse 107. Think of all the people that are still alive that are about to show up on this earth plane. It will change the entire dynamic. It will change. It will be the greatest event we've ever seen, ever.
Can you imagine all of our friends out there that are still dead asleep? The shock to their system.
And the whole story of that.
That'll wake them up.
Yeah, for sure.
Gigawatts. Michael Jackson, 124 gigawatts. Back to the Future. That'll wake him up when he's back. Yeah.
But do you remember how they kept putting everyone in boots? Like Biden was in a boot, and Hillary and all that. Well, that's because that was a reference on the Achilles heel.
Ah, yeah.
It was on McCain's boot, keep moving from leg to leg.
Yeah. He couldn't figure out which leg was injured.
And still people didn't wake up and realize that something was not right here. Like, he didn't sprain his ankle, y'all.
Is Gemini spelled Gemini?
Yes.
So that, if I've done that right, let me just double check that. That would be, that comes to 57, which is Tesla, which is Moon, which is Birth. And if you add both of those together, you talked about Gemini and you talked about Aquarius. So you add 107. That takes you to 164, which is, I talked about the mothership just a few minutes ago. That comes to 164. Comes to Mark the Apostle or Thomas Apostle as well, 164. Very interesting. What's that?
Thomas the Apostle, Gemini is twin. Trump's a Gemini. Gemini means
exactly.
And Thomas was the Greek word for twin, which Didymos.
Didymos, yeah. There you go.
Thomas was actually not. His name was Judas, but they called him Thomas as a nickname. He wasn't as the Judas that turned. He was that was a common name back then. So they called him Thomas as a nickname as the twin. And the book of Thomas talks about him being a twin, and people don't know if that was a reference. They have different theories about this. Was he Jesus's twin? That's one theory. Were there two born? That's one theory. Yeah, I wasn't there. Maybe. That does not mean they told us, but Trump
and JFK's a Gemini. He's a twin. Yeah. And Donald Trump's a twin, and I spoke about at least the two of them, and then the Twin Towers, 185 World Trade Center.
Well, another interesting theory about Thomas's nickname being why they nicknamed him the twin is because he might have, if he wasn't Jesus's twin, he might have resembled Jesus enough to where he could have been like a body double back in those days.
There you go. They were doing it back then.
We've seen a lot of those shenanigans happening, haven't we?
Back then.
So there's all these theories on why this, of course we have a lot of the same names in this time period, in our time period as well, so people will have nicknames, but why that? Why did they call this apostle Thomas? Why did they call him Didymus? Why was he nicknamed the twin? And then you see all this reference to Gemini, which is the sign of the twin, the sign of the two. Interesting, I know astrologically with the elements of Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra all work well together.
Say those three again, Brice.
Do what?
Say those three again, please.
Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. So we're both Aquarius. Miki's a Libra. My best friend's a Libra. My boyfriend is a Gemini. Trump's a Gemini. We're all air signs, or cerebral signs of air.
Right, yeah.
Aquarius carries water. We're considered air signs. So, yeah.
And you just mentioned the thing of element rhodium. We did an episode on this before, but rhodium is like the most expensive precious metal. It's way higher than gold, and but it's 88, which is Trump rhodium when you spell the word rhodium, and it's the word apostle. And the word Thomas is 76. 76 comes to the Ripple, like the Ripple coin out there, XRP right now, but also water. So watch the water. And President Trump spoke just last weekend about 1776. So 17 plus 76 comes to 93. 93 comes to Flotus. It comes to kingship. It comes to Nazareth. It comes to Saturn. It comes to Olympic. It comes to Hungarian. It comes to Bushnell. It comes to a lot of things, and 245 years ago is when American independence was, and 245 comes to the pure love of Christ, comes to Christopher Columbus, comes to Sir Christopher, and it comes to Thomas Sidney Bushnell. So I like I see the personal ones I get, so I always remember those. But they're good numbers, they're good ones to have for sure.
They're all good numbers. And I want to point out, because you mentioned Saturn. Now, one thing I think a lot of people have said, we're taking all this stuff back, guys. We're taking back the numbers.
Exactly.
They have painted Saturn. They've created Saturn, or Satan, into like this bad planet, like this planet that they worship. We're taking it back. We're taking Saturn back.
It's all coming back.
Saturn represents Father Time and our history and our purpose. So we're taking back our time, our history, our understanding of and awareness of that history. Everything is coming back. And it's currently being cleansed in Capricorn.
Yep.
In the triad of Capricorn. So remember in Matthew, it says that God would separate the goats from the sheep, because the goats were those who did not serve others and therefore did not serve God. And the sheep were those who served others and therefore served God. So trust me, if you follow the Lord and if you're a good person at heart, you're, and you didn't fall into any traps.
Yeah, right.
You're on the right side.
Right. And that, like we're taking, it's funny because we get Saturday is where we get Saturn as well.
Next Saturday night, we're going back to the future.
Yeah. Well, Saturday in traditional yoga, my boyfriend and I spend a lot of time in India studying, and we go on a yoga shala, but we always rest on Saturday because that's the day of observation of your own karma. And what karma is, it just means your work. So it's your time, it's your effort, it's your cause and effect. It's a reflection on that time where you rest, you don't practice, and you observe that. So that makes sense of why in India, the Vedas would have said, okay, Saturday, because of the energy that Saturday holds. It's all fantastic. We're taking 13 back. We're taking 666 back. We're taking all of these back because these people can't exist they can't be here anymore. They just can't be here anymore. It's time.
Not with us knowing that they're there. I mean,
oh no.
It's the worst nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. Us, what is it? The military back channel said us awake is their greatest fear.
Yeah. Is their greatest fear, I think maybe.
Yeah.
Did you say Capricorn cleansing? Is that how you phrased it? Miki?
This is my intuition speaking, but what you have in the heavens is you have Jupiter coming to you right now, like right in this moment. Jupiter's doing a big retrograde in the I'll call it the sacral chakra of the Aquarius, right? So right where we hold everything sacred and dear, also right where we belly laugh.
Yeah.
So Jupiter is right in the center of the Aquarius, but you have Saturn, which remember there was a conjunction. So December 21st, 2020, they conjuncted, and then, they pretty much went off into their two retrogrades. And right now, Saturn is retrograding in the pyramid or the goat's head of Capricorn. So Capricorn is half goat, half fish, because they're exposed. How do you catch a fish? Well, they were hiding under the name Jesus. Jesus was the fisherman of man. So they were cloaked as Jesus, and now they're revealed. Nothing against Capricorns. This is astronomy we're talking about, not astrology, because Capricorns are beautiful, peaceful people that, again, they hijacked. But again, you have a cleansing where they're going through this, they're stuck almost in the pyramid, and the pyramid to them represents ascension.
Yeah.
So being in Capricorn is producing a cleansing effect then, really,
of Saturn, and that's why we're getting our history back.
That's very good, because Capricorn, if I've spelled it right, Capricorn, is that correct?
Capricorn, I gotta write it down, sorry.
Capricorn.
On the air.
Capricorn.
Yeah.
Pricorn.
Yeah, that's it.
So Capricorn comes to 97, which comes to Kennedy's, which is appropriate if that's, if they've caught them and they're cleansing. And it also comes to Popcorn, and it comes to Thursday, Thor, the Storm Day, and also Crypto, as we've said. So it's all right there. And also, have I got the star sign right, Brice? When Todd talks about a certain one, is it Capricorns or is it another one he talks about?
What do you mean?
Oh no, Cassiopeias. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Talking about the Cassiopeians.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing we're saying now that my boyfriend follows. And my boyfriend follows the law of one as well, which Tom and I've talked about a lot. And that says the same thing, that we're moving into what they call fourth density positive. That's their language, guys. It's all just different languages for the same thing. And that in this transition, the earth, it will be fourth density, move from third density, which doesn't have a negative or positive, it's both, into fourth density positive. There's no way. The negative, polarized negative, will try to pull it back, but it's destined to be fourth density positive, which is the age of Aquarius. And the law of one divides people once you get past third density into two categories: polarized positive or polarized negative. And Miki, you said exactly what the law of one says about the negative. Polarizing negative is service to self. Polarizing positive are people who are service to others. You just said that beautifully. You're dividing, the people are being divided, right? And so, and the law of one says that to be service to others, 51% of your being has to be service to others. So you can have bad days. That doesn't mean that you're going to have moments where you're going to have a pity party or be selfish. It's just that the majority of your being is to help other people, is to have empathy and compassion towards not just people, all living things, and the service to other people, they have to be 99% service, or service to self. People have to be 99% service to self. That's why we see these people like Hillary doing such horrible things, is because they're trying to achieve that negative polarity. Now, people that don't qualify or graduate have to leave planet and go to another third density planet to do their cycles over again, according to the law of one. It's up to you whether you believe that or not, but it's saying a lot of the same things that the Bible is saying. The law of one does talk about Jesus, and the Cassiopeians, which is another form that Todd follows. They are like our higher selves talking back to us, if that makes sense from how I understand it. And everything they've said was going to happen has happened. And they're basically saying the same thing. You got this. Just relax. It's a movie.
Watch the movie.
Yeah, we are ethereal beings.
Yeah.
We are. And ether is the matter that holds together all things. It's the energy that holds together all matter. Real is real. So ether, real. We are ethereal. everyone has a higher self, right? Everyone can communicate. If we learn, we can, right? So to be open to it and aware that we can. But is real.
There you go.
When Jacob went up his ladder in his visualization, they renamed him Israel because Israel is a project. It's real. We just have to learn how to connect to our higher chakras and our higher self and our higher, dimensions.
I'll tell you something wild that I wish my boyfriend would come on the air sometimes, because he knows way more about all that. He has been.
Come on, Todd. You got to come on. Make your debut.
I know, he's so shy and like
bring it on.
He's all day too. So, but he was telling me, and he has such an eloquent way of like saying this stuff, but that some of us, we look at like grades of like, and I'm not saying like some souls are better than others. It's just how far your soul's developed. Basically, we all have a point where we'll get to where we're at our full capacity. But that some people can be like, are born in this earth and don't really, their full soul doesn't have to really be in their body until a certain point in their life, because they've already experienced so much early stuff that they can kind of be out there and doing what they need to do and then fully jump into the body. I know that sounds really silly how I just explained it the way my boyfriend explains it. It makes much more sense.
That makes sense to me, because when I activated, it was like
your eyes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this was early 2020. I mean, I was like, okay, yep, I'm online.
You can't escape the activation, can you? It's like, oh.
Yep.
Yeah, we're activated.
Like once you see it, you just can't. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you're activated, you can't be deactivated.
Yeah, Redpill.
Yeah, well, my boyfriend says that he thinks that his first part of his childhood, he wasn't fully, like it took him like, and then all of a sudden and he woke up a long time ago. He grew up on military bases, had experiences in Alaska with extraterrestrial stuff, and so he's been studying this stuff for a really long time. But yeah, so the even just think about that. Even the magnitude of what and who we are, we haven't even most people haven't even begun to unpack that, and that the fact that we don't even really fit in our body. Our soul goes out past, the energetic field goes out past our body.
Yeah.
And we have like, I know even in like the Chinese culture, we have like literal ties to certain people, like cords, energetic cords to certain people, that connect us to people that we can't see, but they're there. And that's why sometimes like, you feel thinking about somebody and then they call you.
Well, I was just going to say, like, the synergy on this call is intense. Like, I'm like, I'm telling you, Brice. I don't know how that works, but I just know I'm feeling you.
I love this conversation. I could talk about this all day. This is what I did like in real life before YouTube, before the Great Awakening, when we were teaching yoga, because it literally, it's all a journey to your own soul. And when you find, or whatever you want to call that, Atman, Brahman, there's so many different names for that eternal part of you. We just call it soul in the West, and then, and it's, our story is just so great. And we have been robbed of that. We've been ripped and robbed of all of that. And all the stuff that they've put out there, instigated out there to divide us. If we could remember living in all these different lives, having all these different vessels of different genders, different races, different socioeconomic backgrounds, then we wouldn't be fooled anymore.
Right.
They couldn't fool us. So I don't think they're doing a good job at fooling us anyway. I think most people are pretty on to them at this point. So, didn't I read the other day that like 7 out of 10 Americans, which would be like 70% of Americans on the CDC website, said that had rejected the cure?
I had a feeling it would be a high number when that actually came out.
That's why they're having to bribe us. Now they've skipped bribing and they've gone to door-to-door harassment. So,
well,
you said earlier about the 51 service to others, and I remember hearing that from a guy called Aaron Doughty. He's got a channel and he talks about a lot of Ra and Ra's teachings, and I think Dolores Cannon, etc. But and then you were talking about ether, Miki, and ether. Brice probably remembers this, but within the Book of Mormon, I don't practice Mormonism anymore. I was brought up in it. That was my Christian upbringing. But I remember all the numbers, and the numbers are very powerful in terms of Trump, because Trump is 88, etc. And Mormon is 88. The Book of Mormon comes to 185, which is Donald John Trump. But I just did the numbers on this. So Ether comes to 56, and Ether is one of the, probably in some ways, the most favorite book in the Book of Mormon. I don't know if you remember it, Brice, but Ether comes to 56, which comes to light. And there's a part where they touch stones and make the stones light, so that's appropriate. But if you add the Book of Mormon 185, Donald John Trump, plus Ether, plus light, 56, comes to 241. 241 is deliberately mentioned in the film Tenet, Christopher Nolan's film. They talk about plutonium 241, and it's like this kind of key thing and key number in the film. In Terminator 2, they talk about Judgment Day, and they talk about August 29th, things being switched on. And August 29th is day 241 of the year. And Miki, you said as well about Israel, and that was a good reminder. Yeah, Israel is real. And Israel, the word Israel comes to 64, which comes to Tenet, the film Tenet. And it also comes to the word American. And it also comes to the word Jubilee. So they all tie in again with all the things that we've been talking about. And I've just done the Book of Ether just for the fun of it. And it comes to 153, which comes to Interstellar, which is another Christopher Nolan film. And also comes to Galactic Federation. And I've heard some people freak out about that, but hey, I'm all up for, it's something out there, Galactic Federation. And also 153 comes to a Black Swan event, which it seems like we're looking towards, that there could be something like that at some point soon. So yeah, but thanks for that one about Ether plus the Book of Mormon. I didn't realize that one, 241, so that's an exciting one for sure.
So we used to talk about the Galactic Federation. Another forum that my boyfriend follows is the Palladian Forum, where they channel the Palladians. And we talked about the Seven Sisters, where they're supposed to be our cousins, basically. They're already fourth density, but they're both polarized positive and negative. So they're not 100, they have the power of choice. Well, what was I going to say? Now I've lost my... so in the Palladian Forum, when this person that was channeling them was talking about Trump and was talking about, I know we can't say the phrase for MA, I know they've labeled that as like hate speech, MA, GA. So anyway, but that phrase, we know what we're talking about, that the cosmos, the Palladians are so excited, the good ones, about what's happening on Earth right now with Trump, that they've started their own slogan called "Make the Cosmos Great Again."
There you go.
So that was great. That was, and of course some of the liberals on the channel were like, no, they just can't accept it. They can't accept it. But even the Palladians are like, listen, we are looking down on you. We're telling you right now that y'all are.
Hey, you'll like this one. So Cosmos comes to 84. Comes to the day Sunday, comes to million, it comes to 40, but it also comes to Arizona, where we started when we were talking about Miki. So Cosmos,
the beginning of
Arizona, there you go, 84. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We've been on for a while now. I got to jump off soon. That's all. That was a total round circle there.
That might be a good way. We circled back.
Yeah.
Time to circle back. Circle back. Yeah.
What was it? Kaylee ain't no circle back girl.
There you go. Well, yeah, let's wrap it up then. There might be a concluding thought from either of you, but let's wrap it up. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll have to do it again soon. So,
yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. And this is, I love Miki's work. I love Melissa, the Red Pill Nation's work. A lot, as I told my channel, a lot of what I found in my biblical studies, breaking down these Bible stories, very much matches with what they have found as well. And it's all good news. All good news.
The best is yet to come. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
What's that, Miki?
I said the best is most definitely, it's yet to come.
Oh, yeah. 228. The best is yet to come for sure. There you go. 228. You can say that.
It's out of my screen. There you go. The best is yet to come.
There you go.
Awesome.
The best is yet to come equals 228. 228. Yeah.
No, pretty soon the people remaining are going to be so pathetic that we're literally not going to be able to say it. We're just going to have to sit on YouTube and smile. Like, we won't even have to hold up flashcards because we won't be able to say anything.
I know, and it's funny because I'm headed off on Scott McKay's tour here in a few weeks. I'm really excited and nervous, but I just really hope to just deliver just so much hope to the public. You know, there's so much more to know. There's so much more to see and learn. We're just scratching the surface, you know.
You guys,
well, that's what we're doing, aren't we? We're here to give people hope and comfort and knowledge and understanding. And actually, you just triggered. So earlier you were talking about the Great Awakening. Both of you mentioned that. And the Great Awakening comes to 169, which comes to Trump Tower. It comes to Tiffany Trump. It comes to the stock market. It comes to Robert Zemeckis, the director of Back to the Future. It comes to Thomas Bushnell, one of the ways to say my name, so I know that one pretty well. But it says it's Tiffany Trump, but also it comes to the Virgin Mary. And you talked about her earlier. So that's quite an interesting number, 169, you know, a very important one. Trump Tower, Tiffany Trump, the Virgin Mary. Whether she is or not, I don't know, but who knows? Could be, could well be. But the line of Christ is there.
Yeah, I mean, people accuse us often of delivering hopium. There's no such thing as hopium, guys. This is the good news.
Yeah.
This is Revelation is the best, most exciting book of the whole Bible, and it is good news. It's nothing to be afraid of. We're good. We're good. And you were put here, God, in God's infinite wisdom, who controls the whole universe, put you here at this time for this reason. That's how powerful you are and how special you are. You matter, your vibrations matter, your awareness matters. So this isn't hopium, this is a celebration.
Yeah, and one person giving out a high frequency vibration can raise thousands around them, thousands through the ethereal. So we just have to keep holding the line, patriots.
Yep.
We're so dang close.
This is your purpose. This is part of why you're here. We even though none of us are together in person, we're together in spirit, and just know that across the world there are millions of people just like you, and we are in this together with one of the greatest leaders that was ever blessed to walk this earth leading us. So
here.
Yes. All right, well, thank you guys so much. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Thanks, Miki. Thanks, Brice. God bless, girls.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.